behind. The fire burned through 6 buildings in the business district of New Bethlehem, Clarion County. Dozens of fire companies helped battle the fire, and KDKA's Mary Rob Jackson was there as well. She joins us now live with the latest. Mary Rob?
Jen, just a short time ago, they began bringing down all that's left of these buildings. What a heartbreaking day it's been for the people who live and work here. As you can see, smoke is still rising as firefighters continue to put out hot spots. This little town of New Bethlehem has seen its share of troubles with terrible flooding just a few years back. And now, early today, fire swallows up an entire city block. It all started about 6:30 this morning. These buildings along Broad Street went up like tinder after fire first broke out at the Newbie News store.
Thank God there was no occupants to the apartments above that.
Billowing smoke blotting out the sky, a flower shop, a beauty parlor, the Dollar General store, the local pharmacy. 7 businesses in all, mostly mom and pop places, wiped out. Looking on, the mayor's eyes filled with tears.
It's pretty tough. We had a flood about 6 years ago that hit us pretty hard, and we just started getting some new businesses move in and coming back.
Nearly 25 fire companies from as far south as Leechburg and as far east as Brockway struggled to contain the flames. At one point, volunteers hauled bags of fertilizer out of Hilliard's Hardware, preventing an explosion.
Of course, with all the paint and the volatile things in there, it went up really fast.
This is going to be tough for you.
Yes, it's been a 29-year-old business.
A nearby senior citizen high-rise was temporarily evacuated, and food bank workers worried how they'll feed the 140 families here who depend on them.
I'm just praying that our equipment is saved, because if we have the equipment, we can go somewhere else, we can set up again, and we can help people.
Finding money to rebuild is a challenge.
We have been in contact this morning with our state representative, Fred McElhatton, which has been in contact with PEMA.
I'm not sure they can recover. But they've got a lot of good people with a lot of good heart, but it's going to be tough for them.
Now, damages here are being estimated at more than $1 million, and that's a conservative estimate. Also, for the next 48 hours, people in this area are being told to conserve water, and for drinking water, they must either boil it or use bottled water. Drinking water is being made available at the New Bethlehem Presbyterian Church, at the firehouse, or through the Red Cross. They will deliver it to your home if you need that. If you would like to request that, you can call this number. It is 814-275-3000. Reporting live from New Bethlehem, Clarion County, Mary Rob Jackson, back to you.
All right, what a shame for people there.
Buildings remain standing at this hour. At around 6:30 this morning, a firefighter driving through the business district here in New Bethlehem Borough noticed the blaze, which was contained to just one building at that time. But it didn't take long for the fast-moving flames to engulf several surrounding businesses, including a Dollar General store, a flower shop, a hardware store, and at least one pharmacy. 26 fire companies were called in to tackle this massive blaze, both from the ground and by air. It took at least 6 hours just to bring an out-of-control fire under control. 4 businesses, including the business where fire officials believe the blaze all began, have now been destroyed.
We do know at this time that the fire did originate in the Newbie News building. That's where we're focusing our investigation. And we're here simply because of the magnitude of the fire and try to determine the exact cause of the fire.
Well, right now we can tell you that crews are literally trying to level the building there where you see the smoke smoldering from that building, the Newbie News building, where they believe all of this originated. They're trying to get to the root of the fire and how this all began. Right now, early estimates are that the damage is at least $1 million, and an already struggling economic community, they've lost another 20 jobs because of this tragedy. Luckily, though, no one was injured. That's important to note. Reporting live, Natasha Brown, Channel 11 News.
Yeah, that is some good news there. All right, thank you very much, Natasha. Well, new details.
what I was saying. That's the reason why we put one out on the roof. It's all gonna go. That's the reason why we put one out on the roof. It's on. We're calling for our
Don't know what
information. My name is Jamie Revere, for those of you that don't know. I'm the Public Information Officer for the Pennsylvania State Police. I'm going to try to give you a little bit of an overview of what we know so far, and then we'll open up to questions. We have quite a panel, gathered here. Mr. Chuck Leach is representing the Emergency Management Association. Chief Merlin, obviously the chief at New Bethlehem Borough. Tom Seidel is the mayor of the town, and Jeff Hale is he's coordinating the EMS end of it. And as far as traffic control and the scene security and so forth, Sheriff Peck is taking care of that end. As you, I'm sure, have been down the street and see the devastation we have, it's really taken put an impact on the town of New Bethlehem here. As far as what we have right now, the point of origin for the fire is the Newbie News building, located right down in the middle of the 300 block, is that right? In the middle of the 300 block of Broad Street. The fire first alarm went out right around the 6:30 this morning. As far as the number of fire companies, I know just from my personally hearing what took place, we had the dispatch of the mutual aid departments, New Bethlehem District and Hawthorn, and then it has grown quite immensely from there. We're up to about 26 companies dispatched to this fire here on the Broad Street. A couple of the names, I don't know if you got all the names of the buildings. New Bethlehem Pharmacy mainly has sustained smoke and water damage, but from there on down, we go to the Country Cottage, Flower Shop, heavy damage. All the rest of the buildings are basically total loss, which was Country Cottage, Newbie News, Dollar General, and Hilliard's Hardware Store. As far as the fire investigation itself, the people, there's obviously a lot of work to be done down there at the scene right now. Continue to be done by the firemen, and so far it looks like everything, the blaze is contained now, and as soon as possible, which we're probably looking at 4 or 5 o'clock this afternoon, the state police will carry on an investigation to determine the cause of the fire. That investigation will be conducted by the State Police Fire Marshal Unit, and we're going to put a team of probably at least 4 or 5 fire marshals together to come down and sift through this to try and determine the exact cause of the fire. Along with that team of fire marshals, we're going to have an accelerant detecting. We're going to have an accelerant detecting dog that will be down here again, trying to assist us in determining the cause of the fire. As far as any other unusual occurrences, we had to evacuate the high-rise. Approximately 60 people in the high-rise. They've been taken to the Presbyterian Church. That evacuation was simply to take care of any type of smoke problems or anything like that. That building is no way. It is in no way in danger of any fire or anything like that. Just simply smoke. And one other item that maybe Chuck, you could talk a little bit. The water situation in town here. Obviously, we're using an incredible amount of water. Are they having a boil or anything, Chuck?
At this point, we're bringing in sterile water for drinking purposes. The water plant has not been compromised. There will be a boom set up on Red Bank to make sure that the runoff is kept away from the intakes. Our water supply is down for obvious reasons. We've been using it for firefighting. I spoke with the manager of the municipal authority a few minutes ago, and they are still able to pump water to the reservoir. So at this point in time, our concern is that the drinking water, simply because of all the water drafted through the hydrants, we've got a tremendous amount of silt and stuff stirred from those hydrants, and we turn a tap on right up to the ground. So we're directing everybody to drink bottled water or to sterilize.
Okay. I know Tom, being the mayor of the town, I'm sure he wants to say something about all the people that pitched in.
Yeah, I can't say enough to appreciate the help from the companies. We had, at my count, 5 aerial ladder trucks there. That's what saved it from going further. If it wasn't for the 20-some fire companies showing up, who knows how much we could have lost here. We really appreciate it.
Just to give you an idea, there's companies here from Leechburg and snorkel ladder trucks, Brockway, Brookville, Clarion. I know Brookville and Clarion were dispatched early on, probably a little after 7 o'clock, and responded, and now it has escalated to the point of 26 companies. But we're happy to say that it looks like it's really contained now. However, there's still an awful lot of work down there.
Could you say your name and title again? I'm sorry.
Yeah. Trooper Jamie Levier, L-E-V-I-E-R, Public Information Officer for the Pennsylvania State Police and Troop C.
Thank you.
The only favor I will ask of you, you see the spaghetti of hoses down there. Please, I know you want to get your stories and so forth, but keep the distance so those fellas come down there and they can do their job. And I know we've had no problems so far, and I expect that's the way it'll stay.
There's no report on any injuries or anything thus far?
The only injuries are like your work-related fire injuries. Fellas are down there working awful hard. I don't have to tell you how dangerous that area is. Only very minor work-related injuries. Nobody's had to be transported. And at this time, we have no reason to believe that there were anybody inside the buildings or anything like that. It looks like everybody is free and clear of that. Any questions? Yes, for anybody? Yes.
Was Newbie News the oldest building on the 300 block on that side?
I can't really say that. I can tell you that all of those buildings were back around at least turn of the century type buildings. And we were trying to throw some numbers together down to the police station. There's got to be at least $1 million worth of damage, and it could be a lot higher than that. That's just a number off the cuff that we just tried to, bring up. So.
And from an estimate right now, those buildings involved, are those pretty much lost?
Yeah. I would say from the country cottage down, definitely total loss. And the pharmacy doesn't look very good itself. Heavy smoke and water damage, and without knowing what's on the roof, I mean,
The end building, Jamie, where the food pantry is, is that the total loss to you?
I don't know about McElhaney building.
We don't know that yet. We have, they were working diligently to keep the fire out of it, and I just don't know. We know the fire got to the side of it, but
they got on the side.
Obviously we have situations with buildings this old, with the new construction we have the fire breaks and stuff like that, and I know in talking to the fire marshal, some people, that, a lot of that stuff with buildings this old, it just wasn't in place, and do the best that they could.
1, 2, go ahead.
How was the fire reported this morning? Who called it in?
Fireman called the fire in. He was on his way either to work or going up Broad Street. He saw the fire. He called it in. Yes.
That's impossible to tell.
One of the issues that much of the water to fight the fire was actually taken out of the Red Bank. We had pumpers down at the Red Bank, I think 3 or 4 in the Red Bank, and we had one up in Leisure Run. So we have no way of estimating it at this time.
Just to give you a little, right behind Mr. Leach's building, there are 2 dry hydrants hooked into the creek. They're put there for this reason, and that's about as easy as you can put it.
There's no problem securing water to fight the fire?
No. Well, that's a tough question.
The issue is it took a significant amount of time to get pumpers down to the creek, get them set up, and get them to fight the fire. The initial fire was fought from the trucks and the hydrants on Broad Street. It was beyond the capacity of those hydrants to
It's a lot harder to fight a fire drafted out of the creek than it is to pull from the hydrants.
The other issue you're dealing with in that whole situation is that those buildings, until you got down to where the Dollar General were, all frame construction. And as Mr. Revere pointed out, there was no fire breaks between those buildings. There was only one building that had a little fire break between it, and that was not an approved fire break.
I was told about the country cottage apartments that were vacant. Were there any other apartments along that block in those buildings up above?
All of those apartments were vacant. Yes, there were apartments up there, but they had all been vacated a number of years ago and have not been used recently.
Okay.
So there was no one at the scene when this all started?
Not that we know.
Not that we know of.
When it was called in, were there smoke, flames?
Yes. Yeah, it was my understanding that it was flaming out the front door.
I understand something here that I got something to say that, there maybe could be suspicious in nature.
We won't even discuss that at this time, simply because we're, as you've heard me say before, we're very early in the investigation, and that's an issue that won't even be talked about until these fire marshals get to come in here and you know, use their expertise to try and discover exactly where the point of origin is. I mean, and this is not uncalled for. I mean, you have a blaze of this size. I mean, naturally, we're going to be coming in to try and determine where this started, you know, where the fire started and so forth.
So you think these buildings are all going to be eventually leveled then?
Yeah. Probably one before too long. There's gonna be some equipment coming in here very shortly, as you know, as a safety issue, that we'll be doing some work down there.
How long do you think the stores on Main Street are going to be shut down? I mean, all of the stores.
Undetermined.
You're talking about the damaged ones or the undamaged ones? Well, the damaged ones.
They're gone.
Yeah.
And then the ones that aren't damaged,
As soon as it's cleared and safety, once it's safe, we'll let them know.
business will be allowed to reopen.
What's that?
Businesses will be allowed to reopen.
Yes.
We'll get them up as quick as we can.
Yeah, no
Okay,
doubt
can
about
you
it.
tell me this, how many people do you think, how many jobs have been impacted by this?
20 would be a very conservative guess. 20, at least 20,
Yeah.
at least 20.
I heard this morning that the schools had called off. Was that a directive? That was.
I didn't even know they did.
I didn't know they did.
I don't believe that's correct.
I heard people say that.
I don't know. The only reason I say that is because I know that we were discussing getting water, drinking water, so I don't know what that status of that is.
Hey, someone told me downtown too that there'd been nobody in that newbie news since about 3 o'clock yesterday afternoon.
I don't know the answer. I don't know if that's true or not, and that's something.
Well, somebody works there.
That's.
I don't know what time they close on Sunday. So I don't know. It could be.
Anybody else have any questions?
So
Well,
the damage will be in the building.
What's that?
The damage will probably be.
That's a conservative figure.
How long would you guys take to clean up something this size?
What's that?
How long does it take to clean up something this size, damage this size?
Depends on how fast we get the equipment.
We're going to do that as quick as we can too.
First, you need to understand we can't clean up anything until the fire marshals completed and released the buildings. Once that's done, we will have a plan in place actually before they complete their investigation to clean up and to repair the downtown area.
One very important issue that we need to address is the issue of security around the buildings and so forth. That we really encourage people not to come down there, obviously, because they're going to be turned away. I know the sheriff's office, they already have a plan in place where they're going to be doing around-the-clock security and so forth. And I know Jim and his officers will be assisting, and PSP will be assisting, and whatever we need to do to make sure that scene is secure. It's a very, very dangerous area down there right now. I mean, and it's an area that the public has to stay away from.
Now, does that also include traffic flow? I know this is highly used going towards Pittsburgh.
It's going to be detoured.
Yeah, well, as soon as we can get that traffic restored, we will. But I know we're probably looking at least 2 days before anybody will be allowed around the buildings.
And that includes traffic?
I don't know. We'll work on that. We don't want to have Fort Pitt Bridge problems.
We have a really good detour that's still in place from when we did the Main Street project, so we can get them around.
They made it through 96, and I'm sure they'll survive through this.
Well, when was the last fire here? The Bowling Alley, right?
No. mean of this kind of proportion?
Yeah,
Well, the bowling alley
major.
would be the last major problem. We'd had small fires. That would be probably before I came.
Early 70s?
Early 60s.
60s.
Was it that?
60s.
In the 60s.
Anybody else?
The moose, or the moose fire would have been another major. Yeah, that was my first day on daylight. That would be in 1973, 74, somewhere in there. I think it's 74 because I was on United for the first daylight at work. Yeah, I think it's 74. Yeah, that would be one.
Oh, yes, sir.
So there'll be donations taken up for providers of the businesses along the way there? Is there anything?
I assume that would be done.
At this time, we've made no analysis of the amount of insurance in place. Each of the proprietors have that. Will be part of the process.
Is everything been insured?
Ma'am,
Is everything insured?
I can't speak to that. I don't know. That's an individual decision of each owner, so I can't speak to that.
Some basics.
What, I'll ask that, I know, try not to be asking the firemen and so forth like that. The information will come out of myself or, you know, somebody you see up here, obviously. They're not gonna, frankly, they're not gonna have any more information. We're gonna have, we will be the ones that will have the information. So, and as soon as we get some more information, maybe like 4 o'clock-ish, maybe we'll convene back up here like at 4 and see, you know, I don't know if we'll have anything more to add, but we'll come up here at this time, or at that time, and try to give you anything additional, you know, that we have to offer. Okay.
Do you want to just set that down so that they all know?
11 o'clock.
Yeah, let's shoot for 11 tomorrow.
11? Well, then let's just do that. You don't want to do anything this afternoon, right?
Well, we'll try and give them an update around
Okay,
4.
at 4 o'clock, I'll be here with an update, and we'll let you know at that time for tomorrow.
Exactly.
Okay?
One other quick question. Yeah. Were there any serious problems or different procedures with the chemicals and paint that might have been in the hardware store in the building?
We had volunteers that went down to Hilliers and removed the fertilizer and got out what they could get out.
I think, Chuck, maybe with the boom issue, you might want to have in the creek and stuff, just precautionary things.
One of the concerns is the potential for runoff, contaminated runoff, getting into your water supply. So there's a boom, this is a water boom being set up down on the Red Bank, so that any water runoff will be kept away from the intakes to the water supply for the community. Fortunate thing is the water supply for the community is from the other side over in the race. So initially the water runoff didn't affect it, but just as a precaution, we set the boom to make sure that no water runoff can reach the water intake of the community.
Okay, thanks. And like I said, we'll